you can't dwell on what's happened when you experience stuff like that because you can't change it. The best you can really do is try not to bring that negativity to others going forward.
Yes.
And I do feel like that was a huge issue I dealt with in the moment of that trip, because I know when you came over, I was sitting on the floor practically in tears. Like,
Well, I was going to say that I actually really enjoyed that time. I've even like talked to some of my friends about the experience we had. I mean, just you talking to me about what you were thinking about. You explained things in a more visual way than you normally do, if that makes sense.
mm-hmm.
Like I remember you specifically talking about feeling like almost like you're in a giant dirty mansion pretty much all the time, and there's all this mess everywhere, and it's, you know, you can't get rid of the mess, but at least you can clean up that mess and organize it into different rooms so that when you open those doors you say, oh, that stuff's still there, but it's not a pile of shit right now, pretty much.
That's crazy. I
Yeah.
don't remember
I
saying
well no,
this.
because I legitimately thought about that. I was like, that is a very good way to talk about trauma with people, because you'll trauma is like, that's why it's called trauma, is because it's going to be some shit that affects you for the rest of your fucking life, most likely. It is very rare that someone can completely dissipate the trauma that they have. The best thing you can do is recognize what it is, what it did to you, what it might possibly do to you in the future, and put it in its place and say, that's a part of me, but that's not the house. That's just this part of this room here that's a part of the house, but that doesn't mean that the whole clutter has to fill the hallways and make the whole house shit, pretty much. I don't know if that makes
No,
sense,
that
but
makes total sense, but it's just like that blew my mind. I don't even remember that part of that
yeah.
conversation. I really appreciate you just sharing that, because
Well, I
that
mean,
was
sometimes, like we said, we just be talking and saying the things we mean, but we don't even realize it. So,
and talking like that and saying stuff like that is such a terrifying thing to people out of the fear of judgment of others, because you do talk crazy when you talk like that in the
yeah.
if you're listening to this and not watching it on the actual interview on YouTube, you won't see the little air quotes I put around crazy, but like you're crazy when you talk like that.
Yeah.
And it really does sound like some level of insane ramblings, but the emotion that's driving what you're saying is real.
Yeah.
You just can't, you're having a hard time explaining or interpreting that emotion that you're feeling at that moment. So you just
Yeah.
start saying shit because you're just like, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. It's like,
It's the only way you can rationalize how you're feeling to someone else, because words are essentially flawed in that way, that they're thrown to the meaning of what that person perceives that word as. And that's where a lot of people's misunderstandings in general happen. And if you, like, I mean, that is one of the greatest things about even opening your mind to other people's experiences, is through other people's experiences. Then when someone says, yeah, my mansion was really dirty, but I put everything into a room and now I can look in the room and it's real nice, actually,
I
you
remember.
get it.
As you're talking about it, I'm starting to remember, because I remember when I was laying on the floor before you got to the apartment that day. I was laying there with the music going. I I was watching. I remember watching the ASAP Rocky LSD music video,
Yes.
where he's in the whole big room turns into the dance hall, and I remember closing my eyes and meditating on that thought. And inside my brain, next thing you know, I was in a giant mansion, and
Yes.
there was literally just it. I could look at the trash in the corner or the broken recliner, and it could represent something in my life. Like the broken recliner could represent like the me and my friends sleeping in the woods when I was 19, homeless, and we got in the argument over the recliner that was in the woods and who got to
Yep.
sleep in it. Like
Yep.
that's a real thing that happened. And that's how that could actually store in my mind.
Yes. Because I mean, our memory is also flawed too, so it has to store things in basically allegories most of the time, because you have so many similar experiences throughout your life that there has to be something significant that your brain takes from it. And like you just said, that is significant. Really, what happened is you guys had a fight, but what you remember is the chair. And so that manifests itself as a representation in your brain of this scenario is a chair. And again, if you just say that to someone, you go up to someone random and be like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" "Oh, I'm just talking about my chair thought." And they're just like, "Okay." But
feel you.
But again,
But I'm saying shit, bro.
I'm saying shit, bro. I'm talking about my chair.
That is so real.